Hello, I am Anna Parker. For 50 years, my family has lived in Moonshadow Grove Estates. Now, my daughter has her big moment. Asterisk. I remember the soft hush of the night before the competition. The moonlight lay across the polished floors of our home in Moonshadow Grove Estates, like a gentle blanket. I sat at the kitchen table, sipping warm tea, listening to the clock tick. My daughter, Mia, was asleep in her room, her dance shoes neatly lined by the door, her costume hanging on a hook. Tomorrow was the day she had dreamed of ever since she first saw ballerinas on television. Mia was 10 years old, full of light and hope. She practiced every afternoon, twirling in the living room until her dress swirled around her like spun sugar. Her dance teacher had told her she had talent and grace. I believed it too, and I could see her smile grow brighter with every step. But not everyone in our family was happy for her. My sister-in-law, Vanessa, had always watched from the sidelines. She never had children of her own, and she wore her envy like a heavy cloak. When Mia was born, Vanessa barely visited. At family gatherings, she would stand in the corner, arms folded, offering only forced smiles when we talked about Mia's first steps or her first words. I thought it was just sadness in her heart, but over the years I began to sense something darker, jealousy that burned like a fire she could not control. Last month, I invited her to Mia's recital rehearsal. I thought it would help her feel included, help her bond with Mia. Vanessa agreed at first, but then she canceled at the last minute. She said she felt sick. I felt disappointed, but I hoped she would change her mind. She never did. That night, I sent Mia's dress to the seamstress for a last-minute hem adjustment. The seamstress called me back, voice trembling. "Anna," she said, "the dress has a tear. It looks fresh, almost as if someone cut it with scissors." My heart froze. I rushed over, expecting a small rip, a mistake we could fix. But when I opened the box, the damage was worse than I feared. The pink tulle and sequin bodice were ripped wide at the side. I stared at the dress, tears stinging my eyes. How could this happen? I remembered carefully inspecting the dress when it arrived last week. It was perfect then, and now, only hours before the competition, it was ruined. I called my husband, David, in a panic. He drove over right away. We stood together in the cramped workroom, the hum of the sewing machine echoing around us. My mind raced. Who could have done this? The seamstress had kept the dress safe in her locked workshop. No one else had access. No one, that is, except Vanessa. I fought the panic in my chest. Could she really hate us that much? I shook my head, refusing to believe it. Maybe it was just an accident. Someone dropped a sharp tool by mistake. But deep down, I knew better. At home, I laid the dress out on my bed like a crime scene. My breath came in quick gasps. Mia would wake soon, expecting her dress to be ready. I needed to make a decision fast. Should I tell her? Should I try to fix the dress myself? But the tear was too large, the hem too delicate. In the hallway, I paused and listened. I heard faint footsteps. Not Mia's small, light ones. This was heavier, deliberate. Someone was coming toward my room. My heart pounded. I slipped the dress under the covers and backed away. The door creaked open. Vanessa stood there, her face drawn and pale. Her dark hair fell around her shoulders, her eyes flicking to the bed. She offered a small smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Anna," she said softly, "I thought I'd come by and say good night to Mia." I swallowed hard. "She's asleep," I said, voice trembling. "I was just checking on her dress. It got torn today. The seamstress said it might not be ready in time." My words cracked like thin ice. Vanessa's lips twitched. "That's awful," she whispered, but her eyes shone with something else. A spark of triumph. I saw it there, clear as day. She had done this. She wanted Mia to fail. I stepped forward, anger rising. "Vanessa," I said, voice low, "did you do this?" My words felt like stones falling into still water. She looked away, silent. My heart sank. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her until she confessed, but I held back. I would not give her the satisfaction of a fight. Instead, I took a slow breath and left the room. I had to protect Mia. I had to find a way. The next morning dawned gray and heavy, as if the sky itself knew what had happened. I rose before the sun, making strong coffee and gathering supplies. I searched every closet, every drawer for a backup dress, but Mia only had one. Every friend I called was busy. Every shop was closed. It seemed impossible. I dressed Mia in her tights and shoes, brushing her hair into a neat bun. She looked at me with shining eyes. "Mom, is everything okay?" she asked softly. I forced a smile. "Of course, sweetie," I said. "Your dress is just being steamed. It will be ready in time." She beamed and twisted on her toes. I ached to tell her the truth, but she needed hope more than honesty right now. Hope and faith that we would find a way. We drove to the theater in silence, the radio playing soft music. I kept glancing at Mia in the rearview mirror, seeing her excitement and her trust in me. How could I let her down? I pressed my lips together, vowing not to. At the theater, backstage was a whirl of activity. Hairbrushes clacking, slippers scraping floors, whispers and laughter. I slipped into the wings to avoid crowds. I found the seamstress, her eyes downcast. She shook her head. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I can't fix it." My chest tightened, panic clawing at me again. Mia would be called to the stage any minute. I needed a miracle. Then I saw her. Vanessa was standing by a rack of costumes, chatting and smiling at the other mothers. She looked innocent, as if nothing had happened. My blood boiled. I walked toward her, fury and fear entwined. "Vanessa," I said, voice cold. She turned, surprise flicking across her face. "Anna, I thought you were with Mia." I pointed to the rack. "That's her dress." Her face went blank. "What about it?" I felt a surge of strength. "You know what you did," I said, voice low but firm. "You ripped it last night." She stepped back, eyes widening. She began. But before she could lie, the stage manager called Mia's name. Mia peeked out, her bright eyes searching. "That's me," she whispered. I grabbed Vanessa's arm. "Fix it," I hissed. "Fix it now." Vanessa's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. I looked at my daughter, heart aching. She danced onto the stage wearing a borrowed costume that didn't quite fit, the hem dragging on the floor. Her face was brave, but I saw the hurt in her eyes. I forced myself to sit in the dark audience, clenching my hands around my program. The music began and Mia took her first steps. My heart pounded. She was graceful and strong, but the dress was wrong. It pulled her back, made her move awkwardly at times. The audience clapped politely, but I could see the judges frowning. Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them away. Mia deserved her moment. She deserved to shine in her own dress. I leaned forward, ready to stand up and demand fairness. But then something happened that froze me in place. Backstage, I saw Vanessa reach out and yank another costume off the rack, then shove it into a pile of old dresses. Her lips twisted into a cruel smile. She looked right at me. Just hours before my daughter's big dance competition, my SIL ripped her dress, but then Vanessa's hand flashed a silver pair of scissors, and she sliced through the new costume's bodice, the fabric falling away like shattered glass. The stage lights flared, the music swelled, and my world tilted as I realized there was no more dress for Mia. Just hours before my daughter's big dance competition, my SIL ripped her dress, but then, when Vanessa's hand flashed the silver scissors, the new costume's bodice fell away in a swirl of pink chiffon right on stage. My heart stopped. Mia froze in the spotlight. Her small face went pale. She looked down at the ruined dress, then up at the audience. The music kept playing, but she did not move. I felt sweat on my brow. The judges and crowd stared. The stage coordinator hurried on, but the moment stretched like a long, cold evening. I leapt from my seat and raced backstage, pushing past mothers with tearful eyes. I saw Vanessa smiling, as if she had just flicked a light switch. I caught her arm. "Stop!" I hissed. "Give me that." She let go and backed away, her eyes full of wicked pride. A kind stagehand handed Mia a plain black leotard. It was too simple and too small. Mia's toes could barely touch the ends. She looked like a bird with clipped wings. I hurried to her side, my voice trembling. "Sweetheart, take a deep breath. You're okay." She nodded, lips tight, tears shining. The next song began. Mia stepped into the light again. She lifted her arms and moved as best she could. Her feet slipped slightly on the floor. But then she remembered her training. She straightened her back and flowed through the steps, even when the fabric caught her ankles. The audience watched in silence, then began to clap softly at the end. It was polite, but not the cheers she deserved. I hugged her when she came off stage. She trembled, but she held her chin high. "Mom, I'm okay," she whispered. And in that moment, I realized her strength was bigger than any dress. After the show, we went to a quiet corner of the backstage hall. Mia sat on a folding chair, wiping her tears. I knelt before her. "I am so sorry this happened," I said. "You were amazing." She gave me a small smile. "I just wanted to dance," she said. It still felt good. I looked around. Vanessa was gone. No one knew where she had slipped off to. My blood boiled, but I swallowed my anger. I had to think of Mia first. We left the theater and drove home under the bright streetlights. Mia dozed in the back seat, exhausted but proud. I thought of the next day. I would rebuild her dress. I would find someone, anyone who could mend chiffon and sequins. I would not rest until Mia could dance again. At home, I laid Mia's ripped costumes on the kitchen table. The black leotard was torn, the pink dress still ragged. I called my neighbor, Mrs. Rivera, not one of those big-name families in Moonshadow Grove Estates, but someone who taught sewing at the community center. She agreed to help at dawn. That night, I sat in front of my laptop, searching for last-minute costume shops. Every place was closed by 10. Every email went unanswered. My hope flickered like a dying candle. Then I spotted a pop-up shop, a small dance boutique 2 towns away. It said, "Open Sunday 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Call for emergency fittings." My heart leapt. It was Sunday today. The competition was Monday. I grabbed the phone. A man answered, voice thick with sleep. "Hello." "Please," I said, voice urgent. "I need an emergency fitting. My daughter's dress was ruined. Can you help?" He cleared his throat. "We might," he said. "We open at 6. Be here then." I set my alarm. I curled up on the couch, Mia's head on my lap, and drifted off. At 6 on Sunday morning, we pulled into the little parking lot. The shop sign read Moonlight Dance Company. The building looked old with cracked paint. I wondered if they even knew how to sew tool. Inside, the lights were bright. A tall woman with silver hair smiled at us. "You must be Anna," she said. "I heard your call." She led us to a fitting room. A rack of dresses lined the back wall. Pale blues, deep reds, creamy pinks. My breath caught. None looked like Mia's original design, but I held on to hope. She measured Mia's waist, her arms, her height. Then she pulled a gown from the rack. It was white with tiny pearls. "Not the same," I said, "but it might work." Mia put it on. It fit snugly like a glove. The pearls caught the light. She spun once, then twice. Her eyes shone. "I love it," she whispered. I squeezed her hand. "You look beautiful." The seamstress worked fast, adjusting the hem, adding extra straps so the dress would not slip. I watched, praying the new dress would hold through a full dance. When the fitting was done, I checked the clock. 8 a.m. We had time to test it. I took Mia to the living room and played the music for her solo. She stepped onto the rug and danced. The dress moved with her. No snags, no tears. Relief washed over me. This could work. Then my phone buzzed. It was a message from David. Be careful. I think Vanessa is here. I looked up at the window. At the edge of the yard, among the maple trees, I saw her silhouette. Vanessa stood watching the house, her arms crossed. My heart thundered. She knew. And then she spoke, loud enough for me to hear through the glass. You can't hide from me. I'll see you at the competition. Her voice cut through the morning air like a knife. I grabbed Mia's hand. The new dress felt heavy in my grasp. Just hours before my daughter's big dance competition, my SIL ripped her dress, but then Vanessa had found us again. Just hours before my daughter's big dance competition, my SIL ripped her dress, but then Vanessa had found us again. I saw her shadow at the window, like a dark cloud outside our kitchen. Her voice was cold when she called my name. Anna, she said. I froze. Mia, clutching her new white dress, looked up at me with wide eyes. I put a finger to my lips. Sure, I whispered, then stepped outside. Vanessa stood under the maple tree, arms crossed. Dew was still on the grass. You think you can hide from me in that old shop? She sneered. I'll ruin everything. Her words felt like ice on my skin. I kept my voice calm. You can't hurt her any more, I said. Go away. But she only smiled. Not until I see her fail, Vanessa said. I wanted to shout at her, to push her away, but I knew that would only make her angrier. Instead, I turned back to the house and called, Mia, come inside. She ran in, clutching the new dress to her chest. I closed the door, gently, locked it, and held up my hand to Vanessa through the glass. Stay out of this, I said firmly. Inside, Mia sat at the table, hugging her dress. Her eyes were watery, but she tried to be brave. Mom, she whispered, am I safe now? I knelt beside her. Yes, sweetie, I said. I promise I will protect you. I looked around our small kitchen. The morning sun was soft on the walls. The memory of that ripped dress was still fresh in my mind. But I had a plan. I would make sure Mia danced her best, no matter what Vanessa did next. After breakfast, I drove Mia to the community center where Mrs. Rivera taught her class. The center was a warm, bright room with mirrors on one wall and bar rails along the other. The children were dancing in a circle, laughing as they practiced leaps. Mia's friends ran to her, hugging her new dress. Wow, Mia, said Lily. Sorry, not Lily. Let's call her Jess. Your dress is so pretty. Jess's mother, Mrs. Johnson, smiled at me. That new shop did the trick, she said softly. I nodded, grateful for her kindness. The teacher, Mrs. Rivera, gave Mia extra time at the bar. She helped tighten the straps and whispered, You will shine, dear. Don't let anyone dim your light. Mia beamed. I watched her stretch and practice, her white dress flowing like a ripple in water. For a moment, I forgot all about Vanessa, but the high didn't last long. After class, I took Mia to the park to calm her nerves. The park had green grass and a small pond with ducks. We sat on a bench under an oak tree. Mia fed the ducks bits of bread. Mom, she said, I'm scared Vanessa will come to the competition and try to stop me. I squeezed her hand. I know, I said, but tomorrow when you dance, all the kindness and hard work you've shown will shine through. No one can take that away. She nodded, but didn't look entirely convinced. I hugged her tight. Let's make a promise, I said. We will be kind, even if someone else isn't. We will show everyone how strong and gentle we can be. Mia smiled, and I felt my heart lift. We walked home, the sun dipping low in the sky. I cooked dinner, pasta with tomato sauce, Mia's favorite. She ate slowly, talking about the steps she would do on stage. I listened, making notes on my phone. Practice the spin here. Hold the ending pose a beat longer. Smile at the judges. After dinner, we played a board game to relax. Mia laughed when I almost tripped over a tile. I laughed too, but inside I was nervous. Tomorrow was the day of the competition, the day Vanessa had tried so hard to destroy. I tucked Mia into bed, smoothing her hair. Sleep well, my dancer, I said. She closed her eyes, and I saw the little princess. She was under all that white chiffon. I kissed her forehead and turned off the light. I sat in the living room, the house quiet except for the ticking clock. My mind raced with what could go wrong. What if Vanessa sneaked in and cut the dress again? What if the boutique dress fell apart on stage? I opened my laptop and wrote one last email to Moonlight Dance Company, asking them to send someone to the theater tomorrow morning to be on standby. Then I set 3 alarms on my phone, just in case. At midnight, I finally went to bed. Sleep came in fits and starts. I dreamed of torn dresses and dark shadows, but I also dreamed of Mia dancing, her dress shining, her face radiant. When the alarm rang at 5:30, I jumped up. I got ready in a daze, coffee, checklist, dress, and a garment bag. I woke Mia gently. "Time to rise, superstar," I whispered. She blinked awake, rubbing her eyes, and then sat up with a yawn and a grin. "Today's the big day," she said. By 6:30, we were on the road. The sky was pale with morning light. I held the dress bag tightly, as if it were the most precious treasure in the world. I thought of Vanessa's face at the window, her promise to ruin us. I thought of the kindness of Mrs. Rivera, of Jess and her mom, of the little park bench where we made our promise. I knew that kindness was stronger than hate. When we arrived at the theater, I parked in the lot and carried Mia inside. Backstage was buzzing already, costumes hanging, dancers warming up, mothers fussing with hair and makeup. I breathed in the scent of hairspray and excitement. I spotted the white dress on the rack, safe and ready. Next to it, another dress I had dropped off, a backup in a soft lavender color just in case. I smiled. We were prepared. Mia went to warm up in front of the mirror. She tied her ballet shoes, practiced her steps. I watched, proud and nervous. The stage manager called out names. One by one, dancers lined up. Then the lights dimmed. A hush fell over the wings. The music started for the first group. I held my breath, watching through the curtains. Mia was 2 acts away. Suddenly, a scream echoed from the other side of the stage. The lights flickered, then went out completely. The theater plunged into darkness. A single voice screamed, "Fire!" Panic erupted. Mothers shouted. Dancers stumbled. The fire alarm blared. Through the red emergency lights, I saw smoke curling from the back wall near the stage curtains. I grabbed Mia's hand. "Stay close," I said. We ran toward the exit, but the path was blocked by other parents and dancers. I heard someone cry, "She's trapped." My heart pounded. I looked back at the stage. Through the haze and flashing lights, I saw Vanessa standing beside the curtains, her face lit by the red glow. She held a lighter. Just hours before my daughter's big dance competition, my SIL ripped her dress, but then Vanessa had set the stage on fire. Just hours before my daughter's big dance competition, my SIL ripped her dress, but then Vanessa had set the stage on fire. Smoke filled the backstage area like a thick fog. My heart pounded as I gripped Mia's hand. Her small fingers trembled against mine. The emergency lights glowed red, making every shadow look like a monster ready to pounce. I could hear people crying and shouting. The fire alarm shrieked above us. Heat hit my face, and the smell of burning fabric stung my throat. I knew I had to act fast. I bent down to Mia's level. "We have to move now," I said, voice firm. She nodded, her eyes wide but trusting. I pulled her close, and we edged through the crowd. Flames licked the curtain near the side exit. Sparks floated in the air. The stagehand tried to throw water on the fire, but it quickly hissed and flared. Behind me, a dancer's shoe caught fire on the floor. A mother rushed forward with her coat, dragging the shoe away before it spread. I steered Mia toward the nearest exit. We passed the makeup tables where girls in tutus stumbled, their eyes wild with fear. One girl dropped her ballet shoes and ran in bare feet. A teacher grabbed her and guided her out. I felt a surge of gratitude for every kind person who helped another. We moved like a little wave through the crowd, following the exit signs that glowed above the doors. When we reached the door, a firefighter stood in gear too big for him, placing a hand on my shoulder and guiding us out into the cool night air. The street lamps outside looked gentle compared to the hell behind us. I hugged Mia tight, her soft hair smelling of sweat and tears. She whispered, "Mommy, I was so scared." My heart cracked. "I know, sweetheart. I know." I kissed her forehead and wrapped my arms around her. We watched as fire trucks roared up, lights flashing blue and red. Firefighters with hoses and axes ran toward the theater. A loud crack echoed when a window shattered, sending sparks into the sky. The crowd that had gathered on the sidewalk held their breath. Some parents sobbed, others clutched their children. Nearby, Jess's mother, Mrs. Johnson, found us and pulled us into a hug. Jess stood beside her, worry etched on her young face. "Is Mia okay?" she whispered. I nodded. "She's safe now." David arrived, his face pale but determined. He took Mia from my arms, lifting her onto his hip. "We're okay," I said quietly, though my voice shook. He kissed my cheek. "You were amazing," he said. I looked at the burning building, unsure how Vanessa could have done something so cruel. I glanced around but saw no sign of her. She must have slipped away. After the firefighters brought the blaze under control, we went back inside on their orders to gather Mia's things. The air was still thick with smoke. The stage curtains were charred black, and the floorboards were wet and warped. I retrieved the white dress from the rack. It had a few scorch marks, but was mostly intact. The lavender backup dress was gone, melted into the wet floor. I gathered Mia's shoes and her dance bag. Every item felt like a treasure. We left the theater in a group with other families. A kind theater worker handed each child a bottle of water and a snack bar. Mia took hers quietly, her eyes still wide. I knelt before her. "You did everything right," I said. "You stayed calm and trusted me." She managed a small smile. I handed her the snack bar. "Here, you need energy." She took a bite and nodded. We piled into the car. David drove us home in silence. I stared out the window at the empty streets. The cold air still smelled faintly of smoke. Mia leaned against the window, her dress still in the garment bag beside her. I thought of all we had endured. The ripped dress, the sabotage, the borrowed costumes, and now the fire. Through it all, Mia had stayed brave. When we got home, I made hot chocolate and sat with Mia in the living room. She cuddled under a soft blanket, nibbling her snack bar. I sat close, rubbing her back. "Do you want to talk about it?" I asked. She took another sip of hot chocolate. "I'm just glad you were there," she said. "I was scared, but I knew you would help me." My eyes filled with tears. Always, I whispered. We watched the news on TV. The reporter said the fire was likely arson. The camera crew showed the charred stage, the melted curtains, and the firefighters working under the theater's broken sign. I pressed my thumb to the screen where the burnt curtain hung. My chest tightened. I had to find Vanessa and stop her once and for all. But I knew tonight was not the night for revenge. Tonight I would let Mia rest. The next morning we slept in until late. For the first time in days, there was no alarm. Mia woke with a smile. She climbed into my bed and hugged me. "Mom, can we just stay home today?" she asked. I nodded. "Of course. Today we rest." I made pancakes and fresh fruit. We ate slowly, talking about anything but dance. We laughed over a silly cartoon on TV. I saw the tension leave Mia's shoulders. She was safe here. After breakfast, David called the theater to ask about refunds and rescheduled dates. The manager promised to host a small gathering when the theater reopened. They would let Mia and the other dancers perform on a rainy day and invite friends and family. Mia's eyes lit up at the idea. She clapped her hands. "That would be fun," she said. I agreed, feeling hopeful. We spent the afternoon in the park. The sun was warm on our faces. Mia chased a butterfly and giggled as it fluttered away. I sat on a bench and watched her, my heart full of love and relief. David tossed a ball for our dog, Pip, who raced around barking. It felt like a normal day again. The world seemed wide and full of possibilities. That evening, after dinner, I tucked Mia into bed once more. She yawned and closed her eyes. "Good night, my brave girl," I said. She opened one eye. "Mom, tomorrow can we visit the boutique and bring some flowers to thank them?" I smiled. "We will," I whispered. She nodded and drifted off. As I sat in the dark hallway, I remembered the reporter's words. Arson suspected. My mind went back to Vanessa's face in the red glow. I clenched my fists, planning how I would find proof. But then I heard a faint sound behind me, like fabric tearing. I turned. At the end of the hallway, I saw the pink tulle of Mia's original dress hanging from the coat rack. It wasn't there before. My breath caught in my throat. How did it get back? I stepped closer. The dress was cut in 2 places where it had not been torn before. Fresh cuts. My heart froze. I stared at the shredded fabric, then heard a soft whisper behind me. "You can't hide forever." I spun around, but the hallway was empty and silent, lit only by the moonlight through the window. My skin prickled with fear. Just hours before my daughter's big dance competition, my SIL ripped her dress, but then I realized this was far from over.